All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're talking about a huge shift in healthcare tech, the FDA's brand new guidance for remote monitoring software. And trust me, this isn't just some small tweak to the rulebook. It's a direct response to a world where our health data is literally moving from the clinic to the cloud. This changes the game for everything, from AI that diagnoses diseases to the very tools that let us monitor our loved ones from their own homes. So let's unpack how we got here and what it really means for the future of medicine. So first things first, what are we even talking about here? Let's break down this key term, software as a medical device, or SAMD. The simplest way to think about it is that the software is the medical device. We're not talking about your fitness tracker app. We're talking about sophisticated, often moderate risk software that can do things like analyze an MRI for signs of a tumor, or monitor a person's vital signs for a clinical diagnosis, all on its own, without being physically attached to a big piece of hospital equipment. To really get the full picture, we're going to go on a bit of a journey. We'll start by looking at the old rules. Then we'll see how a global pandemic lit a fire under the whole system. After that, we'll explore the risky new normal we're in, look at the big push for global standards, and finally, we'll tie it all together to see why this new guidance is such a big deal.
Okay, so to understand just how much things are changing, we first need to look at the old playbook. The foundational rules that have been governing medical software for years.
For the longest time, getting medical software approved was this really intense multi-step dance. First up, you had these super strict design controls. Basically, you had to prove with tons of documentation that you built exactly what you said you were going to build. Then came the 510(k), where you had to show that your new software was substantially equivalent to something already legally on the market. It's like saying, hey, our new thing is just as safe and effective as this old thing you already approved. And holding it all together was a quality management system, making sure every single step was consistent and high quality. And then, everything changed. Let's talk about the event that crammed about a decade's worth of innovation and regulatory change into just a couple of years, the COVID-19 pandemic. Think back to March 2020. The world practically shut down, and the demand for remote patient care just exploded overnight. The FDA had to act fast, so they brought in these emergency measures, using what they call enforcement discretion. Basically, they eased up on the rules to get new remote tech to patients quickly. But here's the key. It was always meant to be temporary. So when the public health emergency officially ended in May 2023, a big question mark appeared. Now what? And this right here shows you just how massive that shift was. It's like night and day. Before the pandemic, a device approved for a hospital stayed in the hospital, period. During the emergency, that same device could suddenly be sent home with the patient. Companies could even modify their software to add remote monitoring features, all without that long formal approval process. The floodgates opened up, really, out of sheer necessity. So here's the thing. Once the emergency is over, you can't just put that genie back in the bottle. Suddenly, there are millions of medical devices out there in the wild, connected to home networks, totally outside the controlled, secure environment of a hospital. And all that new connectivity, well, it brought a whole new world of risk. This became the absolute central question for regulators. I mean, it's one thing to secure a device on a hospital's protected IT network. It is a completely different ballgame to make sure that same device is secure when it's connected to your grandpa's home Wi-Fi. And that challenge pushed one specific issue right to the top of the FDA's to-do list: cybersecurity. The FDA's answer was to make cybersecurity a non-negotiable part of the design process. Manufacturers now have to prove their device is secure from the get-go. They have to submit a plan for how they'll find and fix future threats. They need a system for pushing out patches and updates. And, this is a big one, they have to provide a software bill of materials, or SBOM. Think of it like an ingredients list for your code. It tells you every single component in your software, which is absolutely critical for hunting down vulnerabilities. Now, this intense focus on security isn't happening in a vacuum. It's actually part of a much bigger trend, the effort to get US regulations in sync with the rest of the world. Go ahead and circle this date on your calendar, February 2nd, 2026. That is the day the FDA's new Quality Management System regulation, the QMSR, officially goes into effect. It's the deadline for the entire American medical device industry to switch over to a completely new way of thinking. So what's this all about? Well, the FDA is pretty much replacing its decades-old quality system and aligning it with the international standard, ISO 13485. And this is a massive deal. It means the rulebook for ensuring quality in the US is now going to look a whole lot like the one used in Europe, Canada, and most other major markets around the globe.
And this quote, I think it just nails the philosophy behind this whole shift. It's about moving away from a check-the-box, compliance for compliance's sake kind of mindset. The whole point of ISO 13485 is to build a culture that puts patient safety and product quality first, working from the belief that if you get that right, passing the regulatory inspection becomes a natural result.
Okay, so let's tie this all together. With everything we've talked about, why was this new specific guidance for remote monitoring SAMD not just a good idea, but basically the inevitable logical next step for the FDA? Well, for starters, the world of medical devices just isn't about hardware anymore. The explosion in software, in AI, in cloud computing, all of which got supercharged by the pandemic, it created a new reality. And the old rules, which were mostly written with physical machines in mind, just couldn't keep up. Second, as soon as you take these devices out of the clinic and put them into people's homes, you introduce a ton of new challenges. Things like, is it easy enough for an elderly patient to use? Is their data private? And of course, the big one, is it secure? These became massive priorities in a way they never were when the device was tucked away safely inside a hospital's IT network. And finally, as the US lines up with these global quality standards, it only makes sense that you need a modern regulatory framework to go with it. You need rules that can actually address the unique risks and benefits of today's tech, whether it's an AI diagnostic tool or the remote software that's now a core part of modern healthcare. Ultimately, this new guidance is about way more than just a set of rules. It's about trying to build a safe, secure, and trustworthy foundation for the future of medicine. And it really poses a critical question for all of us. As healthcare gets more connected and more data-driven than ever before, are we really truly ready for what's coming next?